All right, so I'll go ahead and start. Well, all right. Okay, for those who don't know, I'm Mr. Abdul-Mateen. I'm the principal at Northeast High School. We have an interpreter in the rear here for Spanish speaking if we need it. And some of our teachers and parents, community partners, central office folk, there's a central office person. And tonight, the idea is we're required as a school to present who we are and our current status. And then we also want to get some input from parents and community partners around who we are as a school. So, part of the first 4 or 5 slides kind of gives you the framework of who we are. Then I'll talk to you just briefly about the various elements of areas that we need to work on and focus on. And then I would like to break into small groups, maybe 2, 3 people per group, and then you rotate. All of this should take in the neighborhood from 6 to 7:30. Thank you for coming in, ma'am.
I'm going to wait at the door for the other people.
Okay, thank you. And so it's kind of a working group. This is not just a presentation. This is really a working group to get input. We're required by the state to solicit input from community partners, from members of our community, parents, and then we have to build our plan based on what the recommendations are that come from you. Some of them if we're unable to create the environment for that to happen, we have to say, well, on NA right at this point. But there are lots of things that we want to hear from you, mostly parents and community partners, and so that's kind of where we are. I'll go through the PowerPoint. I have about 20 slides, I think 21 slides, but I'll be quick with it. I want you to ask questions as we go along, so that things that come up to your mind, I want you to keep those on the table, okay? So again, this is today. Okay. Receivership public hearing. Receivership here, this is what we're going, this part here. The purpose, what is receivership? I'll talk about that briefly. This is kind of the framework that we're working at. The school presentation has to happen. Then we have to have the community feedback, breakout sessions, small groups. We have something in our building called the Community Engagement Team. And that, we've been fortunate, Ms. Clark, who went to central office on Friday, but she's been in our building for, what, 9 or 10 years, and has really built the capacity of our school, our community engagement team. So we'll talk about this. So what is, wrong one.
Want me to see your Van White?
Yeah, would you be my van?
Sure.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, you didn't even need
What
it.
is, no, I do.
Okay.
Would be helpful. You maybe have the touch, I don't have the touch. State law, we are considered a struggling school. It says state law requires us, struggling schools, to make rapid gains. So the idea is get better fast. That's really what it amounts to. And what the getting better fast is about academics, it's about community involvement, it's about attendance. There's lots of areas of improvement. We've made progress. We were a school that went into this receivership status. This is now our 4th year, but the first 3 years were given to the school that says get better fast, and we did get better fast. We showed a continual improvement. There's certain elements that we all had to address. Each one of those elements were weighted. Those 8 together required us to earn 67 points out of 100. This year, last year, 17-18, we did earn actually 73 points. So we were showing what is called demonstrable improvement. We're demonstrating improvement on this continuum. Graduation rate by the state says 67% is really the minimum. Everybody should be at 67%. That's what we expect. We showed improvement from the previous year, which had been 49, we went to 55. but that wasn't enough to get us like off the receivership status. They said, okay, you're showing progress, but you still seem like you're struggling a little bit in some critical areas. So that's why we're back. Even though we showed demonstrable improvement, we're at a point where now we have 2 more years, and it says 18, 19, 19, 20. They'll look at the data at that point, and then we'll be in a position, they'll determine what our status is going to be. Thank you for coming, man. If schools do not meet improvement targets within 1 or 2 years, 2 years now, the district is required to appoint an outside receiver approved by the state. Right now, it's the superintendent of schools. We just had one retire, Ms. Barbara Dean Williams. She was the receiver. Now we have a new receiver who is the new superintendent, and so the superintendent has this authority. An appointed receiver will have broad authority to set and manage school improvement plans. We've been fortunate. One of the primary benefits of receivership is that we've ended up with additions. We have per capita more resources than the average school. And that's been a real benefit. That's been one of the factors that has helped us really target small groups of students to get them to move to a higher level. Superintendent will act as the receiver first, which is at that point, the receiving is happening. And now we have data for improvement targets will be released soon. So we have these improvement targets, and those targets are actually based on what happened in 2014-15, is that right? 2014-15, that was the target, that was the baseline year. Baseline year, and every year, the progress targets continue to increase. So the first year was 1% over. So 15-16, it was 1% over the baseline. 16-17, it was 3% over the baseline. 17-18, it was 6% over the baseline. And now 18-19, it should be 10% over the baseline. So you see they're ratcheting up the pressure a little bit, which is, I think, is appropriate, because in the end, nobody wants to be in that category where you're not showing the achievement. So we want every student to demonstrate the achievement that they need, so that our school can feel comfortable and know that we're providing the kind of academic program and experience for our students, and we're also dealing with the social emotional needs of our students. And you'll see that some of that is having some real impactful outcomes. We're the 2 schools, the 2 high schools, have remained in, even though we've shown demonstrable improvement, we have 2 high schools in the district that still remain, from the first cohort. So there were 8 schools in the first cohort. There are 10 schools now in the second cohort. So these are the 2 schools from the first cohort that are remaining. And I'll tell you a little bit about this. Last year, I was retired. 2 years ago, I was retired. I was retired for 5 years. I came back, I was asked to come back and be the principal here for a short period of time. So last year I worked as a sub, and I was told, come in, work for a couple of weeks, a couple of months, and then we'll find somebody. In the end, I worked the full year. And then as we showed improvement, I thought it makes sense that I continue. If I had gone and another principal was hired, that would have been the 5th principal in 7 years. And so one of the most effective ways of getting a school to move in a particular direction is to have some consistency. There was a lot, the adults as well as students, there was a lot of anguish and angst because folk were just like, does anybody care? I mean, what's going on here? So I was asked to come in, I started, and Ms. Jackson, who was not here, she's an assistant principal with us, had been here for an extended period of time. And then we got Ms. Pryor, who is new. She was a new assistant principal. And so I had 2 assistant principals, and myself, I'm a retired, I retired from Franklin in 2012. So I came back, and I've been working since. So even though we have a veteran principal and some new people with a lot of energy, a lot of knowledge, the school was in its 3rd year. So there was a need to get better fast real fast, because this was the third year. Had we not made progress, one of the outcomes would have been the state would be considering closing us. So we got past that. And so that conversation isn't coming up again until 2 years down the road, 2020. And we believe that we're moving in the right direction, but I'm trying to give you the framework of why we're remaining. We made the demonstrable improvement, but there was a lot of vulnerability in our school at this time. So we want to be sure that you know that, and that's why we're asking you to come. Now we're saying, okay, we're stabilized, we're moving in the right direction. Give us some additional input so that we're making sure we're meeting the needs of your children. And then these are the other schools. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we got 1, 2, 3, we got 4 new high schools, 5, 4, this is middle school, and then elementary schools. We're all working hard. We're all working hard. Resources are being allocated, not at the level that we got previous years, but at some level. We do have some advantage because we're receivership schools. Okay. So this is state law. We have to communicate all schools, so all of these schools for the next 2 weeks are having these kind of meetings. There are 3 happening tonight, 1 happened last night, and we'll continue. So we have to do, we communicate the school status, which is what we're doing tonight. This community engagement team, we do have that team in place. We have partnerships that are in the building, 11, 12 organizational partners that are also in the building dealing with the needs of our students. We conduct the public hearing, that's what we're doing now. So, purpose of tonight, talk about our current status, talk about the community engagement team, and getting your feedback. And from this work, we will develop, add to our receivership plan. So we'll have a plan that from this work and the work that has been done over the years, over last year, we'll pull together a more up-to-date plan, and then we'll implement that plan based on the feedback we get tonight and the work that continues to happen. Thank you for coming. All right, we have someone from Fidelis. Once we finish our formal operations, she's available to sign parents up for health care if you're interested. One of the biggest challenges that we face is attendance. For whatever reason, here's the district average, which is in the neighborhood of, I think it's 84, 85%. Over the last 5 years, 2014, our attendance was approximately 76, 77%. Went up a little bit, went down 16, 17. I started last year, and again, because new administrators, new to the building, our attendance was down. We didn't really focus on it as people would like to have us do, because there was so much else to do. So this year, our attendance, as you see, so this was last year, it was at 71%. We're close to 80% right now. So that's a big jump. We are able to now, we do monthly meetings around attendance with the central office people, but we also do something called cohort tracking. So our school is organized around the year a student starts 9th grade. That's the cohort. They're in that cohort. It takes 5.5 credits to go from 9 to 10. Even though some students may not get the 5.5 credits, we keep them in that cohort. So it's that social, emotional relationship that they have with the people around them. So we treat them as a senior. We have people who are, here's a good example, global history, global 2. Global 2 is global U.S. history, global history, and it has been a 2-year exam. You go global 1 in the 9th grade, global 2 in the 10th grade, and then you get tested on both years. Kids, quite often, that's probably the greatest failed test in the district. So what happens is, if that student doesn't pass that exam, they still may be listed as a 9th grader, although they're in the 10th or 11th or even the 12th grade cohort. But we keep them in that cohort because the motivation, keeping them with their peers, tends to be a better motivator than retaining them. We find, you don't want to 17, 18-year-old, 19-year-old sometimes in a ninth grade class with 13 or 14-year-olds. It just doesn't make sense. Students aren't going to go there, and it's not going to be a positive experience for anybody in that relationship. So our attendance, we've been able to now sit down and on a monthly basis, we go through our attendance. We have a staff member who is dedicated as an attendance person, and then we have part of our administrative assignments is we have staff who call students. We also do robocalls. You might have gotten a robocall if a student is not in class, and I think they happen twice a day, like 11 in the morning, and maybe 2 in the afternoon. If a student doesn't go to class anytime during the day, at some point there will be a robocall to your house, because those numbers get fed into the computer and the calls go out automatically. So attendance, we've been able to really have some impact. Here's a statistic. Out of our 548 or 558 students, I believe it is, and it changes because we got a couple of new ones today. Out of 550, just say 50, we have 286 students who are what we call chronically absent. Now that number, let me just clarify that. The chronically absent student is a student who has missed 10% of their attendance of school. Now, what that means is, we just finished our first semester. 90 days in the first semester, 90 days in the second, 180 days. So 10% would be 9 days. Sounds like, okay, 9 days out of the first semester. But if you start making computing, that's like a day and a half every week. Something to that effect. And so that's not healthy. In the end, it's, if a student misses 10% of 180 days, it's too many absences for us to, and some of them are not just 10%. You know, there are students with much higher levels of absences that we're working on, and with our rich staffing, it allows us to really create tailored programs for small groups of students. And so we've been able, we have one student who was 17 years old, is 17, has 20 credits, I believe. But last year, she just disengaged. I'm not coming back to school, fourth marking period. This year, beginning of the marking period. First month, I'm not coming to school. We said, we got a program that can help you get graduated, because she has a full-time job. She has a job, and she wants to go full-time. So we communicated with her, gave her some options, and she's on track to graduate. But because we were able to tailor-make a schedule for her and really create the kind of condition that fit her life, well, she has some anxiety issues as well. We were able to create a program that allows her to come in and take the courses, but she doesn't come for the full day because it's not necessary, because she's earned all of her Regents exams, and she has and she's just in a place where her life fits the circumstances of school. And so we're really working hard to make things happen for our students. And because of our staffing, we're able to do that. Suspension, we're proud of this, and I'll talk to you about why that's important. You know, suspensions always create disruption. A suspension is sometimes the outcome. It doesn't necessarily solve the problem, but it does make the point that there is a consequence for your behavior. But we've reduced our suspensions over a 5-year period from 2014 for the year, 509 suspensions. I wasn't here at that time. I was not the And then from 2015, 16, 432, 16, 17, 242, 231 last year, and right now, as of today, and we're halfway through the school year, we have 33 suspensions. I think that's we want the students to remain in school, and we have created several options that provide support, emotional, social support for our students within the building. So when someone is having, and the other thing, and this really just the way it is now, it's quiet and calm. Last year, when we had students who were walking around with their cell phones, this was this. All day long, we were having this. Kids in the hallway, I'll meet you in the bathroom, I'm taking pictures, I'm posting pictures, I'm calling my family. Miss Larkin is here, she's here. Miss Larkin is in what we call the Panther Pride room. So that's like an alternative to suspension room. That's what she did last year. And when we would have incidents of students in classrooms with their phones who were unwilling to give up those phones or creating all kinds of disturbance, we would send them to the Panther Pride room. We had well over 2,000 incidents of cell phones that went to that room. Over close to 2,300 cell phone issues out of 180 days. So 180, so you're talking about 13, 14 cell phone issues that required intervention every day of the year on an average. And now, I joke, I say, y'all up here asleep again? Because it's just not, and they're not asleep. I'm just joking. It's so much less drama that they have to respond to. And it just has made such a difference. You can walk in this building sometimes, and it's very quiet because students they're not on their phones, they're not running through the hallway screaming, look at this. It's just a different environment that has been created. And I'm proud to say that I don't believe we've lost any cell phones. 2 students say that we did, but I believe that that's not true. And I've told parents that. But out of every day, we take cell phones, and we have a process, and it has worked really well. Thanks to our teachers who have really been diligent. We pick them up in the morning, and we distribute them at 9th period. If you go to 9th period, you get your cell phone. If you don't go to 9th period, you come to me, and I have your cell phone. Because the point is, go to class. So we have, but the cell phones, I believe, were as much of a problem that caused disruption as anything in the building, because it was just all day long. And kids walk around with the buds, they don't even hear you. They go in the classroom, it's a problem. Okay. English improved, but not enough students are proficient on Regents. And Regents proficiency, that's what we want. We want them to be able to take those Regents exams, ELA, English 3 course, and be proficient. Levels 1, 2, 3, and 4. So proficiency is level 3. All right? So 2014 again, all of this is around comparison to show that we're continually making the demonstrable improvements. 2003 total cohort passing, English 3 with a 65. The target was 25%. 25%, the result was 27%. Same 2014, same deal. Total cohort passing was a 65. 27% was the progress target, 29%. 2015, this is 15, 16, 16, 17, 17. These are the cohorts. So the students in this cohort graduate 2018. So 4 years later. 2017, 18, progress target 30, we were at 38.22. That's for the juniors, this is for seniors. ELA, at least a 2. Progress target 52, we got a total of 68. ELA high school students and above, progress target 54, we went down last year. Same deal, we went down last year. But again, this is the year that I started. So I went down, I own that too. And I own it, but these were seniors who I came in that I inherited. I don't mind owning it because I'm here now, and because we made the kind of progress, I'm okay. Yeah, it's me, I'll own that. Math improving again. Same kind of situation. Progress target 36, we went to 39. 38 went to 56. 41 went to 42. 52. We still want it to be 100. We want 100% students. We're not going to be satisfied until every student is passing. And so we provide after-school tutoring. Last year we had, I think, 17 or 18 Saturday schools sessions, 9 to 12 come in, do your credit recovery. We have community organizations that provide tutoring for our students. We're earning our groups. Now, we're putting together groups that say, this is how we're going to provide you with the necessary support so you can graduate. Okay, graduation rate again. These are the metrics, these are the measures that the state says you got to live up to, and they give us these progress targets. So, June graduation rate 2015, 36%. August 2016, 57%. So we have June and we have August graduations. So all of them from September of the previous year to August of the following year, that's the full year. So any student graduating during that time is attached to that year. So we have June graduation, August graduation, they're all attached. 2016, we had the 54.4, went down to 49, almost 50%. And last year we were at 54. Again, that's when I started. So this had already happened. This is the progress. And the progress target that we needed to make was this, 55%. And we came up at 54.5, which I don't quite understand how that happened, but that's the number that was given to us. So because we have been continually showing some progress in these areas, state was saying, okay, you're doing what you should do, just continue. But we just going to turn up the heat just a little bit. So instead of 3-point jumps, we're going to ask you to do a 4% jump. So that's okay, I'm okay with that. I think it's possible. Okay, so we put this picture in because of you. Our biggest asset, our people. Our people. And it's not just classroom teachers. It's community organizations, it's former students. We have a long-standing relationship with former students who come back and talk about the experiences that they've had. We have community partners who are very invested, who pick our students up at 9th grade and carry them all the way through to 12th grade. We have one organization called CMAP, College Map, something like that. They're an accounting firm, and they pick up our juniors. Every other year, they start with a junior class, so it's 11 and 12, and they carry those students through, and then they follow them in college. And last year, we were able to get 28 students to graduate out of that CMAP program, and out of that relationship, our students earned $35,000 worth of scholarships. One student got 11, one student got 9, right on down. There were 9 who shared in that $35,000 worth of scholarships. It's a national program. We're the only high school in New York State that operates that program. So people are put, and this money that they raised came out of the accounting organization. People donated money to our students. They are very invested, and we're pleased to have that. We have Hillside, they follow our students. We have the Center for Youth Services here to do mediations. It's the relationships that we build that make us who we are. And if you see, okay, so I was hired. So this is the area that we're looking to have you make some comments on tonight. Okay. Tenet 2, building leadership. I was hired. As I said, I was a per diem sub. I wasn't expecting to work for 2 years. I do plan to come back next year. So I was hired. Ms. Pryor was hired. We have another assistant principal, Ms. Burrows, who was hired. Ms. Markin, who is our case coordinating administrator for special ed. And we have Ms. Jackson. Ms. Jackson, who was already tenured. She's here. But 4 of the 5 administrators were first-year administrators. So part of my responsibility is to make sure I build capacity in them, because I've said I'm not going to just continue to work. I mean, I was retired once, and retirement is a good thing for those who don't know. And that I do know. So I was hired, but I'm here, and I'm committed to do what I can to build capacity in our schools. Increase numbers of assistant principals and that kind of support. Leadership team is diverse, so African American, Caucasian, old, young, medium, middle-aged.
Pretty much, no, you're not.
We've invested in the community school strategy, which is basically making sure we build the community capacity to provide support and be a part of our school community. We have some of the adults here who, when children may be having emotional issues or conflict, they are quick as any administrator to be involved with those students, talk to them. They built relationships. Where's that room? On the back side, there's a room on, is it? Where's the hillside? Hillside is right over here, on the other side. But yes, I think there are 4 people in that room, 4 or 5 adults, who are always accessible to students, and they go in, they talk to them, they relate to them, they know their families. There's all kind of opportunity. We have something coming up February 26th. It already started. We have a partnership developing with RIT. RIT has a program called Women in Computing, WIC, Women in Computing, and they want to work with our students some of our female students who have interest in computing. They brought in their Chrome card yesterday, maybe 2 days ago, but they've begun the process. February 26th, there's going to be a press conference, and the county executive is coming because there's resources that are coming from several places that provide that kind of opportunity for our students. We're building capacity. We're building the opportunity for our students to reach out. Someone has said our field trip budget is over budgeted. We've used more than a lot of folks, but we believe that getting out, seeing colleges, seeing places that they haven't been to previously is a good learning experience. It shows that possibilities, and it shows that it's fairly easy if you really commit. So we try to build capacity. We have a step team that's really great. Cheerleaders are really outstanding. Last year we came in 2nd place on a regional, U.S. regional competition. So we have a really strong experience. What I want students to feel is that when I left high school, man, that was great. We had a great high school experience. That's what we want for our students. We want them to learn, but we also want them to grow. So you come in as a 9th grader, 13, 14 years old, and you leave as an 18-year-old, maybe voting for the president, going into the military, going to college. We want our students, that's the vision that we have, and we want them to go in feeling competent. Working to strengthen our curriculum and make classes more engaged. I don't know if some of you saw me on the news the other day about Black History, Channel 10, 6 p.m. You can go online and check it out if you got to. I got it on my phone. Never got a camera that I didn't love. I think as a principal, you have to have a sense of humor. Exactly. Students, if you are fragile,
as a human being,
they will.
There you
yes,
go.
as a human being.
Well
But
said.
in this seat, you got to have a sense of humor. That I can tell you, because otherwise you're stressed out. High school kids, even middle school students, they'll laugh at you. Look at how he dresses, look at his hair, look. One day a girl came up to me, "Mister, why you got," I hadn't shaved, it was going down my neck. "Why you got all this up and down?" I need to chill with that. Curriculum impact. We want to strengthen our curriculum. The reason I brought that up is the question was, do we have Black history learning embedded in our school? And we don't really have it on an ongoing basis. And it's something that we can work on. In our demographics, it's about 80%, 70% African American, 20s or so Hispanic. So you got 90% people of color just walking in the door every day. So we want to have our curriculum that develops, that relates to the experiences that students bring. That's important. Teachers have common planning time. That was something that the schedule we built last year did not have the kind of common planning time that we have this year. So we do have common planning time so teachers can get together on common issues, and we're going to continue to work on that. Intervention instructions, we have central office folk who come to us, directors who come to us to actually work with various content areas, teachers, to improve instruction and deliver the kind of support that our school needs. Master scheduling, we did a survey last year. There were common planning time, go from 8 periods to 9 periods. We want more electives, and that's important. We have increased advanced placement courses, and we're working to strengthen the electives. So this would be a conversation that, if you make a recommendation about that would stay on the table for us. It's on the table, but I want to just ensure that when you are talking about this, you remember that the advanced placement courses, students can score from a 1 to a 5. If they score a 3 or higher, it could serve as college credit. But even if they get a 2, the experience, the rigor that child lives through is at the proficient level. So, that 3 that they get on the high school ELA, those 3s, a 2 on advanced placement course is equivalent to the proficient level. So even though it may be a challenge, they're going to come out better for it. Tenet 4 is instruction, more frequent professional development, learning it, more partnership with district executives, identify areas of focus for staff, relationships, very important. I don't like that teacher. Well, you got to work that out, because so students will come to me, listen, I want to change my class. Why? Because I don't like that teacher. Well, at this point, that's not the issue. You have to learn to get along. You got a job? Yeah. You like your boss? Sometimes. Do you want to quit? No. All right, so I'll have a conversation, and I have a conversation with staff. Hey, this student is saying such and such and such. See what you can do to make an adjustment. It's not a requirement, but it's because I feel that I'm the advocate for students, and the people who work with them are the people who have the most impact. So I'm not going to go in and try to force a student to cooperate, but I will talk to the teacher and say, figure out how you can adjust this so that we don't have this kind of resistance. Literacy strategies. Writing is so important. All across the board, all the content areas, writing, even in PE, sometimes in art. Writing is important. Being able to express yourself in language. If you can't talk about it, you're not going to be able to write about it. So my belief is it's necessary for us to have dialogue in classrooms, because if you can't talk about something, it's going to be difficult for you to write about it. But right now the new structure is, even in math, I can get the answer, but I have to explain it. I have to write out the answer, write out my explanation of my thinking. So we got to get students to be able to think about how they arrive at an answer. And we say the field trips, more field trips to support learning. School climate, heavy investment, that PPR room. What we don't want is to continually suspend students. So students go there, Ms. Larkin and Ms. Bedcourt, they're very skilled. Ms. Larkin is actually now our homeschool assistant. We haven't hired anybody, and she's been doing it for so long. She says, well, I can do both. I said, you can't do both. Listen, let me show you. She does. So we haven't moved her yet, but she is the homeschool assistant, but she provides support in the PPR room. And this intervention is, they have a relationship. She showed me her phone. I said, I can't believe the number of parent phone numbers that you have in your phone. She said, Miss Abdul-Mateen, I got like 800. Because over the years, she just collects phone numbers when she calls parents. And so there's this relationship that she has. The relationship is what makes the PPR work. Center for Youth Service and In Control, Mr. Brown is part of our community place person. Mr. Brown has been in the building 28 years, something like that. He does a program called, what's the basketball called? Colors. Boys, for the most part, show up at 7 o'clock in the morning, play basketball. And it keeps them at a place that keeps the stress, keeps the testosterone in control. We have a health center. We have a licensed health center for strong. Everything except surgery they can do back there. Mental health counseling, gynecology, everything.
And they just, I think they can write prescriptions.
So we have a valid, full-fledged health center in the building. We have PDs, professional learning about relationships, restorative conversations, trauma. This is something that we're all becoming a little more aware of. Trauma that students are experiencing has such an impact on, I'll be done short. I know I'm stressing it out, but we gotta make sure you know who we are. Trauma, major issue with a lot of our students. When you go just below the surface, it's way more than you expect. Now that doesn't mean that some of them are very good students. But you can tell sometimes when you get them one-on-one, it surprises me, students cry. Listen, you don't know my situation. I don't, tell me. And you know, so that's why we have mental health counseling, social emotional opportunity, groups. We do all kinds of, Mr. Whitfield came to us this year. He facilitates a lot of groups that help students extinguish some of the conflicts that they're having because of the emotional relationships that they're living. So we're fully aware of the academics, but as a school, we look at the whole student. We have 12 community partners that provide an array of services. We have a counselor. This is one of the advantages also. So each cohort, 9, 10, 11, 12, each cohort has an assistant principal assigned and also a counselor. That's kind of unusual. Normally, counselors have in the neighborhood of 250 to 300 students per counselor. We have 150, 160 per counselor. So they can pay very close attention to your students' schedules. They spend time really making plans around programs that students can benefit from. Every year, each cohort gets an opportunity to kind of sit together and hear what their year looks like, what are the opportunities that they look like, field trips. Trips, like we have a trip that was planned to DC. We have a trip that's planned to Hershey Park. So we do honor roll, a lot of honor roll celebration. So we're trying to build the high school experience, and we're tying it to the cohort. Increase events to improve high school experience. 10 and 6 family and community engagement. So we're trying to figure out how we go about making sure that we're having ongoing communication. There is this parent portal. Anyone use the parent portal? So is it working for you? Okay. Well, keep working at it. You tell us what the problem is, and we'll put that down as an issue.
Well, it's really not a big problem, but it's like, I don't know if like the teachers not want to say too much about your student, and, you know, so they like might not, you know, have to, I really don't know how to word it, but a lot of things that I've learned from my child came from like either Miss Larkin herself or the teacher like themselves. Like I'm parent, I'm involved.
Right.
I'm in it, I want to know everything, you know. I don't want to know when you get tired of it. I want to know when it happened. And that's a lot of, yes. And that's a lot of my things about it with the whole teacher and parent communication.
Yeah, that's a good point, and we'll remember that. Hire Ms. Larkin, you see Ms. Larkin around, homeschool assistant, she's very effective. And then again, a school-based, we need parents on school-based planning, Ms. Parker and Ms. Burton. We have 2 parents, but we have, maybe you can't come sometime. We want parents to be involved in our school-based planning team so that we hear your perspective and you hear what we're saying and you can question us. And you can have, each constituency has votes. So parents have votes, administrators have votes. It's not really voting like voting blocks. But what we want to be able to do is come to consensus and everybody can give a thumbs up on an issue that we're discussing at school-based planning. So it's really not a voting experience, but unless it comes down to that. And when that happens, each group sort of gets a vote. Teachers get a vote, administrators get a vote, parents get a vote, there's other unions, RAP, Vente, other people, other unions who are part of the school-based planning team. What we're trying to do is build capacity so that we have an ongoing parent group that basically feeds us information. You tell us what it is you believe is important to you and your child, and we begin to work on that in a way that we can roll it out so that it's effective. And so that's what we need from you tonight, parent and community engagement. So, quickly, are there questions? Because after this, we have about, I said this was supposed to go to 7:30, I have 6:55. So, we will want you to break in a few groups, and it will be around parent engagement, building leadership, what is it? What was the other category? Curriculum and instruction, social emotional. So we would like to hear what your issues are. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, the advanced placement, is that another word for vocational? Is
No,
that- so
no.
it's a little
Advanced
something
placement is
different?
actually more like college, a
Okay,
strong
so-
college. But you're looking for the vocational?
Well, first, I don't wanna jump in front of anybody, but I'm literally off the clock for my job, and I gotta go back.
Okay.
I am Soraya Rutledge's grandmother,
Mm-hmm.
my challenged grandchild.
We all have one.
I have a couple of them. Miss Larkins called me and she asked me, we were talking about school.
Mhm.
And she basically told me that you're looking for ways to keep the children more engaged
Mhm.
in class,
Right.
more attentive,
Mhm.
and so forth. So we were talking, I'm from Tennessee,
Mhm.
old school obviously, and we had a vocation wing in
Mhm.
all of our high schools. We literally had restaurants,
Mhm.
garages with actual cars and things in it. And the kids, and our juniors and seniors had to take a certain amount of credit in vocational school.
Mhm.
And of course, I didn't appreciate it then, but I see now that I'm an adult, I see the connection.
Right.
The connection helps for a child has
A short attention span.
right, so it's actual hands-on. And that career vocational also helps them understand the importance of their academics. It makes that bridge, it connects their ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. I can't do this unless I know my ABCs, 1, 2, 3s. And so, being an adult now, I see that, and I'm, you know, other than my grandchildren being in the city schools, I really don't.
You don't see that much?
I don't have family that I can draw on from the Rochester City School District perspective.
Mhm.
I know you have the Edison Tech, which is vocational.
Somewhat, yeah,
vocational.
technical, right.
Okay, so, but that's just one thing. Like I said, from where I came from, every high school had a vocational wing. So it gave them that opportunity to make those connections and choose your career. You had one-on-one conversations with actual people in those fields.
One of the things that we do is do field trips to locations that are like vocational locations. So tool and die, you know, my brother-in-law worked at Xerox for years, retired from, he was a tool and die operator, a machinist.
Right,
Uh,
and I understand that. What I'm asking or trying to find out, is there a way to bring more vocational career minded things here into the schools instead of taking kids out to field trips? Field trips are great, but one day, you know.
No,
I can
When I-
speak to that.
Go ahead.
Next week, actually, February 13th, we have a manufacturing company coming here to talk to the students, to introduce them to those kind of opportunities. So what we've been working on, we have something called a work-based learning coordinator in our district, and she also comes to the school. So she's working with Douglas to help us bring business partners as well, so that we can create those kind of opportunities for our students. We also are partnered with another program called Pointy Services that's going to be started in our career financial management classes.
in those classes, the students will learn like the soft skills they need for career and vocational skills, and they'll also get partnered with a business so they can have an internship. So we
Right.
piloted with a
Exactly.
couple of kids. We have 3 kids that already have an internship. So now we're gonna push the program into a classroom and start rolling it out that way. So we are working towards getting some of those things on campus. We're just not all the way there yet.
Okay.
And that's what I'm saying, because, we started with our juniors and our seniors. And they had to have so many credits towards vocational to show or give them a path to their career choices, or help them make career choices, or whether they were going to go to college, whether they were going to ROTC, or whatever the choice was. There was 2 years of high school to gear them to that. That way, if they were a failing student or a mediocre, CD student, they had those 2 years to change it around to get into a more positive state when they graduated, to go into the career of their choice. It gave them that right there. And that's what like I said, I've never been to Edison Tech, so I don't know what that involves.
I haven't graduated from there, I'm piggybacking off what you're saying. You have a great point, because the opportunities as a 9th grader coming into that type of school where you have a hair salon, a restaurant, car spot, where you can fix your cars. In our 9th grade year, we had exploratories where we visited all of those vocationals. So the last 3 years, we would maintain that course and embark on that, or your career or vocational class, wherever you were. I can honestly say it worked for me. It worked, but I think the one thing that needs to be focused on is a child's way of learning things, and that's within the classroom. And before you go out to a career, you have to know how to, just like you said, the soft skills to even get you into that career. So I think a lot with a teacher in front of 30 students, by gosh, you know what I mean? I felt bad as a student for a teacher that had to go through 30 of us, trying to keep everyone's attention, when everyone has a different style of learning. Everyone, has a different type of attention span. So with that, I just think there needs to be some type of assessment, like 9th grade assessment, where a child picks I think a child needs to have a voice, period, in the curriculum. I want to ask for a curriculum myself, but the agenda, so I can look at it as a parent and say, well, I just want, I know my child is not going to learn that way. My child isn't, you know what I mean? I think in 9th grade, it needs to be assessed where their attention span is going. A 13 or 14-year-old has a lot of input in his or her life. So I think with that, at 9th grade, there needs to be, okay, so what are I don't think they should be able to pick their courses, I would only say math and English. That would be absurd, but I think they need to have some sort of say in the curriculum and how it's executed, because it's them.
Right.
We can say all day, let's do this, do that, but the student needs to say, I can't learn like that. You know what I mean? And that's what gets them distracted, because they feel like they need to learn that type of way.
Right.
And this child is getting all the accolades and all the, recognition, when that's not my way to learn this thing, and I'm not excelling as fast as that student, and I don't think I should be pushed in the corner. And then that's when the distractions come into class, and hey, I'm not trying to learn, I want to fight, I want to pick, they're tuning out because this is not my way of learning. And, with the tutors and everything involved, it's still not for that class. I may be sharp in math, but my English skills are lacking so bad that I don't even want to do math anymore. So all it takes is one turn off, and it'll start trickle effecting into the other classes. So I think it's hard. It takes a lot of work, but I think the students need to be involved more in how things are going or operating, you know what I mean? Because just like he says, I don't like that teacher. That instead of them saying, I don't like the way that the teacher teaches, or I don't like the style of learning, they'll throw it off. And I just want to, even if you go into another class, you're not getting that subject. So it's not the teacher, it's you and your attention focus and your span, and what is it? I need to know exactly what it is you're not learning. Or should a student be able to teach me, in a better way? But that's what we did in our math class. Like, math is a perfect example. everybody doesn't learn algebra the same way. You know what I mean? So I need to get with people who know how to learn algebra my way. Versus sitting in the classroom for 45 minutes being
Listening to one person.
totally out of tune with what's going on.
I
That,
agree.
that idea around common planning time, sometimes those ideas are shared
Yeah.
because one student may be thriving in one class.
Right,
And so what are you doing? Tell me how you getting Ali to.
right. And then like she
Make
said,
an
you know, I think in the first marking period, when those midterms grades
Mhm.
come out and you see a C, we gotta catch you now, because if I don't catch you now, by June, you've lost, it's gonna be too
Let's
late.
do this because I have 7:05, if that's right.
Mhm.
But I think this is a very excellent conversation. I went to Franklin and we had all that too. And, yeah, so, right, I mean, quick. You dog. You went to ease, I won't hold that against you. Ms. Parker.
Okay, just to piggyback off of what you said, young lady here, everybody is very good. That's why it's so important to have parent involvement.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Because the voice of the parents is gonna make the difference. If you get together and you start speaking out for your children once we gather together in a group and you start having those discussions, then it can be brought forth before the right people as well, so that they can understand your view about your child and the way that they learn, okay? That voice is gonna speak. Your voice has a lot of impact,
Parent
carries a
voice
lot
has-
of weight.
Parent voice is
So,
something
we need
that,
parent involvement.
that everybody responds to as a priority.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
That's how it has
That's
to be.
number one, yes, sir.
And-
Yes, sir.
Once you,
Mhm.
if we can build momentum, we can build parent strength
Yes,
that supports this school. If without a parent, the
It
table
doesn't-
is
it
not
doesn't-
steady.
exactly.
And so we need your voice, and we want to hear what you have to say, and you'll see that we'll factor in. I believe parents, this is what I explained to Ms. Parker, she first came to us. I said, I don't think it ought to be parent-teacher. I think it ought to be parent organization.
Yeah.
I was the president of the parent group at Wilson. It was a parent organization, because the teachers have a union, the administrators have a union, everybody's got a union, but the parent voice, there's no union. So there ought to be, I think, a parent group. Now, I understand PTO brings with it a framework that provides some kind of structure and some kind of support. But just philosophically, I think the parent group should be independent, because your voice is different than everybody else's voice. You got skin in the game. We all have it, but yours is your child. And so that's the thing that I believe makes a difference.
Yes, sir.
And so we'll build capacity in some way, so that what you're saying and what all of you may be thinking, we want to hear. Because, we want you to talk to your friends. We want you to tell them about the opportunity that's available to you and that's available to them. We'll continue this conversation. But tonight, because it's getting kind of late, I want to at least break us into a couple of groups so you can give us some input, write some things down, and then we'll be ending. I think there's more pizza, but I see the high schools have come through, so I don't know what the status of that is. So, if you want to say leadership, that may be something you want to work on. Curriculum, instruction, social emotional, those are the 4 categories that if you would just, we have chart paper. From the chart paper, if you would just go through and put down some ideas that you have, and we'll end, and then you'll hear more about it as we distill that information and then pull it together.
Definitely.
Any other questions? Just questions?
I don't mean teacher person.
So now what?
Oh, Fidelis is here.
What are we breaking into now?
I'm not sure, but
Students who are 9 through 12, school-based planning is required to have students on the school-based planning team. So we, pardon me?
Yes.
Yes, so we're gonna be looking for students. Ninth grade will be just fine. If we have that, we're looking for students to have,
Yeah, yeah.
that's right.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
We want
No,
that.
he graduated about
Because that's the best place to get them.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah. So, it's, I see, my thing is,
And I implemented that with our,
Peter's like,
Mr.
you
Westbrook.
said, like, she said, we
Your
have
brother?
different, I see it in my own kids, you know, three, I have three. So they're different styles of learning, you know, I get that, even myself, I'm a school. So it's kind of hard for me to be part of a lot of things that nothing's doing. But to school because I'm in school myself, I'm a full-time student, I work part-time.
To communicate what's going on.
Do you know he ran the Olympics? He ran the Olympics? Quarter mile. And I have, my Miss Jackson, her father is TJ, Trent Jackson.
He'll have an understanding of how we feel about it. Okay, everybody's on the team, you know what I mean? Skyrocketing the house.
I tell students that I'm principal, but I'm daddy, uncle, granddaddy, cousin, whoever I can be. That's so important.
Instead of, oh, he's my teacher. She can that woman, that little girl, she's so extreme, that might take her back to her, like, you know, career to a different place. You
I was
can't.
sitting at the basketball game the other night.